Hey, what's up guys? My name is Jeremy Miller. I'm a runner based out of Austin, Texas. We're here at the UC Davis track, shooting a track workout. I'm currently training for a 5K. This is actually my first time doing a 5K. I normally run marathons, half marathons, ultra marathons, so switching to the shorter distance stuff for the time being. I've got a race this coming Sunday actually in about 5 days. So we're doing a little tune-up workout. Today is gonna be 10 times 400 meters. My goal time for the 5K is gonna be like 17 minutes. So that's about 5 minutes, 30 seconds per mile. And so for these 400 meters, I'm gonna be just a touch faster. So like 5:15 per mile, roughly. Leading up to this, I've done, I think, a total of 5 marathons. My fastest one I just did at the Chicago Marathon in October. That was a 2:44. So that's like 6:15 per mile, roughly. Which for me, 5 years ago, if you'd have told me I'd be running marathons that fast, I would have called you crazy. I just got into running not that long ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and just did my first marathon about 2 years ago. So I've come a long ways, which is awesome. And just even saying some of these times sounds so crazy to me. But I've also done a couple 50-mile ultra marathons. Later this year, I'll be running my first 100-mile ultra marathon at the Bighorn 100 up in Wyoming in the mountains. So that's kind of the main focus of my training for the first part of 2024. But I love mixing in speed workouts like this to help with VO2 max, lactate threshold, building that anaerobic system. And then I think that translates really well even to the longer stuff like a marathon, ultra marathon. So I like to diversify training as much as possible. I also love to lift, strength train. I lift 4 to 5 times a week as well. But this could be a whole podcast about training and running, but hopefully gives you guys a good idea about where I'm coming from, who I am. So we're gonna start with the 2-mile warm-up here on the track, and then we'll hit 10 times 400 meters. It'll be a 1-minute jogging rest in between, and then we'll hit a 2-mile cool down afterwards. But stoked for it, stoked to be out here in Sacramento. So let's get started. So this is a pretty classic VO2 max type of workout. So each 400 meter section will take me about a minute, minute 15, and then I have a 1-minute jogging rest. And that 1-to-1 ratio is a pretty typical VO2 max anaerobic workout. And I like to do these 1 to 2 times a week, depending on what I'm training for, how far out from the race I am. Another really good VO2 max type of workout is it's called the Norwegian workout, and it's longer intervals. So it's about 4 minutes on with 3 minutes off. And that's another great way to work that anaerobic system, get your heart rate up, get that lactic acid built up, and then just teach your body how to become more efficient, clear all that stuff out. Yeah, when I first started running, it was 2018. I had no clue what I was doing. I always hated running. And I would just run 1 mile a day. I would run as fast as I could every single day because I didn't have any knowledge of how to actually train. And so I'd go out, I'd try and run basically a new mile PR every single day, and obviously plateaued pretty quickly. But my heart rate was always jacked up way too high. I had no aerobic fitness, and now, like, I can look back at my old stats and see where my heart rate was compared to where it's at today. You know, running similar paces, and it's just like night and day better. It's one, a testament to consistency, and then 2, just proper training. So about 80% of my time spent running is just like I am right now, just nice and easy, conversational. You can speak in full sentences. And then the other 20% is like a speed session like we're getting ready to do, where your heart rate's up near max, your legs are on fire, but that's a very, very small percentage. So just learning all these different dynamics to training, and again, I think consistency is probably the most important thing overall. But yeah, it's crazy how far you can come in just a short amount of time with those 2 things. My very first marathon was in January of 2022, so exactly 2 years ago. I ran a 3:01 marathon, which is an amazing first marathon, but I was completely dead. I laid on the ground for like 30 minutes after the race. I didn't want to get up and move. I was sore. I didn't run for weeks afterwards. And then I just did a 2:44 a few months ago, and just night and day difference. Like, I was walking around, I felt good. I was back running within a couple days. And so that's a 2-year span to make a lot of progress. 16, 17 minutes off of a marathon time is a lot. So again, just being consistent and showing up, putting in the work every day, and following the right training protocol. When I'm doing easy runs, I don't really even look at my watch or don't look at my pace a whole lot. On average, it ends up being like somewhere in the 8 minutes per mile, so like 8 to 9 minutes. But really, like, I either look at heart rate or just don't look at anything and just go based off of feel. That's the more I get into running and fitness, like, the more I learn how important it is to just do things based off of intuition and what feels good. But I think you can only get to that point by using guidelines like heart rate or like pace to guide you. And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is my easy pace, this is my conversational pace. And you don't really have to look at data and just listen to your body. I think that's one of the most important things. Just finished up the 2 mile warm-up. That took about 16-17 minutes, just nice and easy. Now I'm gonna do a quick dynamic warm-up. I don't ever static stretch. I don't really think there's a lot of value to static stretching, but I do like doing a quick dynamic warm-up. So I'll do some like high knees, butt kickers, A skips, B skips, some like high knees, that kind of stuff. So we're gonna do that real quick and then we'll get into the warm-up. I think people always think it sounds crazy if I say I don't stretch before running. And like, even if you look at the science or the data on it, it's very mixed. There's really not a lot of conclusive data that says that stretching works. My opinion is, if it works for you, do it. But I've tested stretching and not stretching. I don't feel a difference. I don't really see a difference. And so why waste my time if it's not really doing anything? But the dynamic warm-ups like this get the blood flowing, they get your muscles going, and they get you ready for the workout. In my opinion, way more than static stretching would. So I do like maybe a minute, 2 minutes of this, just real quick and easy. Helps get the range of motion going, and again, just gets the blood flowing and gets those fast twitch muscle fibers ready to start running fast. All right, I'm gonna aim for about 5:15 pace right here for this first rep, and then we'll hopefully progress, get faster throughout the run. Oh, a little hot on this one. I gotta pull it back. Got a little excited on that first one. I hit 5:03 for that first one. I looked at my watches at a 4:30 pace, so I had to pull back a little bit. But we've got just a quick 1 minute recovery jog, and we'll get into the next one. All right, 3, 2, 1. There we go. That's closer to where we want to be. That was 5:15 per mile. I'm not wearing a proper heart rate monitor. I normally do, I just don't have it with me today. But the wrist, that got up to like 185. The goal with these types of workouts is to get the heart rate up near max, so like 90 to 95% of max heart rate. For me, that's around like 195 or so. So I'm usually above 180, getting close to 190 for each of these. 3, 2, 1. I think one of the best ways to see your fitness growing is when you're doing a workout like this and you can see, hey, there's Graham. Hey. What up, dude? And you can see how low your heart rate gets on the recovery sets, just for your heart rate to be up near max, and then within less than a minute, you're already back down to like zone 2. It takes a long time to get there, but that's one of the coolest ways to see your cardio fitness actually building, is just how quick your heart can recover. That was number 3. 2, 1. I got 5 more if you want to hop in. Yeah. These workouts usually get exponentially harder as you progress through the workout. So the first 4 reps we just did weren't too bad, but as the fatigue builds up, as the lactic acid starts accumulating in your legs, you can feel the effort level going up a little bit. And the goal is to kind of match, by the end of this workout, how we'll be feeling towards the end of our race. Whether that's a 5K, a marathon, I like to just go all out at the end of these speed workouts to simulate what it's going to feel like at the end of a race. One thing I like to think about when my legs start getting more tired is I like to kick my heel up even higher on the back end of my stride, and that helps increase your cadence. And I also like to drive my knees forward. It's a really easy tendency to try and reach as you're going faster. Your legs get tired, but instead think of increasing your cadence and taking faster, shorter steps instead of trying to reach. Because every time you reach, you're gonna be more up on your heel and you're basically gonna be braking, making you slow down a little bit. That was 5, I believe. 2, 1. Wait. I think we're averaging right around 5:10 pace for most of these, which is about 1 minute 15, 1 minute 16 per 400 meters. So right where we want to be. I think when I get to the 10th lap, I'll just leave it all out there. Just go for 100% on that last one. 3, 2, 1. You hopping in?
I'll see if I can keep up with you.
Here we go.
So you just going consistent?
Yep. Yeah, I'll try to progressively get faster throughout.
Let's see if I can hold it. This cat is a warm up.
Hi, boy. How'd that feel?
A little stiff in the calf.
Yeah, that was 5:14 pace. So about 1:18 for the lap.
I don't think I'm walking fast.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay. We'll do the last one on the road or something. Atta boy. 5:11. All right, well, I'll probably do the last lap just on the road right here. All right, we got kicked off the track, but we got 1 lap left. So we'll just go out on the road to do that. Act like they own the damn track out here. I guess it is their school. All right, 3, 2, 1. On your left. Oh. Watch those things. Go. I'll hang it right here, I guess. All right, that's 10 reps, 10 400 meters. I'll have to pull up my splits on my phone. Maybe we could throw it on the screen, but felt pretty good. Stuck to the assigned paces. Our last rep got kind of messed up. Tried to go off the track, but great workout. Got the stimulus that we wanted. Got the physiological adaptations that we're going for today. So overall, very successful workout. I'll do minimum 1 of these types of workouts a week. The interval distance will change a little bit. The paces will change a little bit. Sometimes they get longer or shorter. And then depending on what race I'm training for, like if it's a marathon, for example, I will do what I call marathon workouts. So about 1 to 2 times a month, I'll take like an 18 or 20 mile long run and I'll factor in paces into those. So I'll do like 2 miles at my goal marathon pace and then like a mile a little bit slower and do like 5 or 6 sets of those. So it's like kind of one of these workouts but spread out over like 18 miles, and those make a huge difference for the longer distances. So long answer short, minimum 1 speed workout a week, sometimes 2. I got my VO2 max tested for the first time about a month ago. My watch said like 57, and then in the lab it said 69, so a huge discrepancy there. When I first started running, my watch, I believe it was like low 50s probably. So I guess on my watch it's improved, 7-8 points, but in the lab it's hard to tell. Obviously the lab is going to be the most accurate, but yeah, definitely like I said at the beginning of the video, is just paces that I can currently run now, like being able to knock out this workout, average, like 5:10 pace for all these 400 meters. Never would have been able to do that just a couple of years ago. So on a day-to-day basis, it never really feels like you're making progress. It's kind of like lifting, like you're going week after week after week, and you might notice little improvements here or there. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, like this big macro point of view, that's where you can see your fitness really change. Resting heart rate is usually like low 50s, high 40s. That's always kind of been relatively the same, but I will say I can tell if I'm overtraining or if my body's just fatigued, if I'm sick. Resting heart rate and my heart rate variability will definitely change for the worse. I think those are great metrics to follow. Heart rate variability especially, there's a lot of data on that. in terms of recovery. The higher it is, the more recovered you are, the better shape you're in, and then the lower it is, the less recovered you are, basically. And I think all this data is really important, but don't be a slave to it. I've done that before, where when you wake up, it says you got shitty sleep, your heart rate variability is lower than normal, then you're gonna have a bad day, even though you might feel fine. And so I think one of the most important things is use it again as a guideline, but just listen to your body. Find that intuition for how you feel on a day-to-day basis. And also with all these different metrics is like, follow the overarching trends. Don't get stuck on a point here, there, but instead, like, if your VO2 max is trending up, just focus on that. Or if your heart rate variability is trending in the right direction, resting heart rate's trending in the right direction, that's more important than like the day-to-day discrepancies. Also, wrist heart rate monitors are so inaccurate. Right now it says my heart rate's 185. Like, I'm obviously just sitting here talking to you, so get a heart rate monitor if you're really trying to dial in training. Nutrition is a super important aspect of running, something that took me forever to figure out, and honestly something I'm still kind of adjusting. But for when it comes to water and electrolytes, you have sodium stores in your body, kind of like carb or glycogen stores, and so you can sodium load. And so usually for like a marathon or shorter, you can get away without any kind of additional sodium during the race or during the workout. Once it gets above like 3-4 hours, that's where you kind of have to start supplementing during the race. But on a day-to-day basis, I will take an additional 1,000 milligrams of sodium just through electrolyte powder, in addition to whatever I have on my food. And then from there, for every hour that I work out, I'll do an additional 1,000 milligrams. I've done sweat tests before, so I know how salty my sweat is, which is super valuable information because you can really dial in your hydration. Hydration obviously helps prevent cramping, helps your nerve and muscle function. So getting that dialed in. Water, I say just drink whenever you're thirsty. I aim for maybe like 3/4 of a gallon to a gallon of water a day. Obviously, depending on how hot it is, how much I'm sweating. But I think just if you're thirsty, drink some water. If not, don't worry too much about it. And then in terms of carbs, for a workout like this, anything 90 minutes or shorter, you don't really need anything intra workout. In terms of carbs, carb loading definitely works. Definitely have to carb load before a big workout, like anything longer than about 90 minutes or 2 hours. I would definitely recommend carb loading. Anything shorter like this whole workout will be like less than an hour. You don't really need to carb load. You have enough stores in your body as long as you eat a moderately high carb diet. Your glycogen system roughly lasts for 90 minutes at like max effort. So usually for like a faster half marathon or anything shorter, you don't really need anything during the workout. Again, as long as you're carb loaded properly. But anything past 90 minutes, definitely gotta take gels or some kind of liquid carbs. So like for the ultra marathons I've done, I'm doing a gel like every 45 minutes, constantly drinking liquid calories, always trying to get in some sort of fuel. For a marathon, still taking gels, but I don't really need water or electrolytes. The biggest thing with nutrition is just find what works for you. So much of this stuff is so subjective. Our stomachs are different, our palates are different. But everybody does need sodium, everybody does need carbs. So use those, but figure out the numbers and what works best for you. I live in Austin, Texas. We don't really get snow or ice or anything, so I can run outside every day. So I choose to do that. However, if you live somewhere cold where you get snow and you're trying to do interval work, speed work like this, obviously you're not gonna be able to do that if it's icy outside. So that's where I think treadmills come into play if the weather doesn't allow you to be outside on the road or on the track. And then I think the other place treadmills are really crucial is like, for me, I live in Austin, but I'm training for a very mountainous ultra. We don't have mountains in Austin, but I can use the incline on the treadmill to simulate running uphill build those muscles, the power in my legs that'll be required to run up a mountain. So again, depends on what you're racing or what you're training for. If it's a mountainous race and you live in a flat area, or if you live somewhere where you can't get outside and run every day. But I would say if you can run outside, then just run outside, because it's gonna closer simulate what you're gonna see on race day. And if you're not even training for a race, you're just trying to run to be healthy and build cardio fitness, then I don't think it matters. You're still working the same systems. You're still building VO2 max, building your cardio fitness. So it's just a tool to use. Again, I think it's maybe personal preference, but I personally don't run on the treadmill a whole lot. For all my easy runs, about 80% of the time, I'll just wear a regular running shoe, no carbon plate. They're just nice, soft, cushiony shoes. I think I love barefoot shoes. I personally don't run in barefoot shoes because I'm always on concrete. And while our feet are designed to be able to run barefoot, I don't think our feet are designed to run on concrete unless you really build up the tolerance to it. So I find super cushiony, really thick shoes. That's just for the vast majority of my miles. I do like anywhere from 50 to 80 miles a week. And then for speed sessions, I'll pull out the carbon plated shoes like these Brooks. I love Nike, I love Saucony, I love New Balance. Any kind of carbon plated shoe, I think they all feel relatively the same, but they definitely make a big difference. And the reason I don't wear these every day is because they're so stiff. The foam is stiffer, the carbon plate makes the shoe very rigid, and you can definitely feel it in your lower legs and your calves. So I don't like to wear them every day because it feels like it's just adding unnecessary stress when I don't really need the speed on those easy days. But for days like today, I want to go faster. I'm up on my toes more because I'm running quicker. That's where the carbon plates can really come in and make a big difference. And definitely wearing them on race day too. So I strength train about 4 to 5 times a week, 2 lower body days, 2 upper body days. I like to pair my lower body days with my speed workout and then my long run. So today I do the speed workout. This afternoon I'll do my first lower body session of the week. And the reason for that too, one, I find that both of those workouts on their own will make my legs sore. So if I can just stack them together, basically put all that fatigue into my legs on one day, it'll allow me to recover quicker. So instead of spreading out the soreness, basically, I kind of stack it all in one day. And then 2, just building that muscular endurance, being able to come on the track, rip a fast workout, and then in like 3 or 4 hours, go put weights on the legs. That just helps build muscular endurance, helps your legs recover faster. And I guess a third aspect to that is just active recovery. I find I get less sore overall and my muscles recover a lot quicker when I do the lower body training after an intense workout, just because the blood flow, the movement, all that helps your muscles recover a little bit quicker. And we'll talk about this later in the strength training portion, but most of my strength workouts are very short, like 30 to 45 minutes. I pick a handful of exercises and I basically do the same thing every week. Obviously you want to add that progressive overload and increase the weights over time, but the actual exercises themselves don't really change. I like to keep it as functional as possible. Yeah, I think strength training obviously has a number of benefits for overall health and longevity, but when it comes to running specifically, not only makes you a faster runner, builds more muscular endurance, more power, prevents cramping, prevents form breakdown at the end of a long run, but it also just helps prevent injury too. Before I lifted with my running, I was always injured from running. Shin splints, my hips hurt, my knees hurt, everything always hurt. Always had some sort of injury going on. Now, with consistent strength training with it, I haven't had an injury, fortunately, for a couple of years, and I just feel so strong and, again, way less sore overall. When I first realized that running is a single leg activity, my mind was blown, and so that's when I made the shift in my strength training to do as many exercises as possible with one leg loaded. underweight. So, I mean, when I'm running, I'm never on both feet at the same time. So why would you lift with both feet on the ground at the same time, or with the weight evenly distributed between both legs? Because when you're running, it's never like that. Yeah, so like Bulgarian split squats, obviously you have both feet on the ground or both feet planted, but all the load is on one leg. Box step ups, still you have both feet in contact on the ground or somewhere, but one leg is loaded. And I do like to do deadlifts or squats, because I think that posterior chain is so crucial for runners. The vast majority of running injuries come from weak or deactivated glutes. So that's why I love deadlifting, is because it really helps strengthen and activate your whole posterior chain. So glutes, hamstrings, calves, lower back. That's a real big source of a lot of running injuries. And so most of the exercises I do will target the posterior chain specifically. Some of my favorite types of exercises to do to prevent lower body injuries for running, so like Achilles, calf, shins, is plyo stuff. So when you're running, you're basically jumping. You're going from one leg to the other. So if you can incorporate that under some load in the gym, so doing some plyo movements, lots of jumping, jumping on a box, jumping off of a box, being up on your toes, ski jumps, tib raises are a great way to strengthen that whole lower part of your leg. Some simple calf raises also do great. Soleus is one of your main calf muscles, and that's a huge problem area for runners. So doing any kind of that ankle flexion, especially under load, will really help strengthen all that. I also love wearing barefoot shoes when I'm not running, because you're utilizing all those muscles in your lower legs and in your feet. And I think modern shoes that most people wear don't allow you to do that. They kind of just lock everything in place. But barefoot shoes give you more range of motion, help you strengthen all those little muscles. Bulgarian split squats are probably the main eccentric movement that I do. So I also love reverse sled pulls, just anything that's going to target that lower quad around that knee area. Those help a lot, especially for this 100-mile mountain race I'm training for. It's 22,000 feet of incline, but it's also 22,000 feet of downhill. And so anytime you're running downhill, you're braking and you're putting all the load and stress on your quads and on your knees. So I love doing Bulgarian split squats, reverse sled pulls to target that area specifically. Because the first time I did a mountain race, my knees were destroyed by the end of it because of all that downhill, all that pounding. But since incorporating more of that eccentric movement in the gym, it's kind of gotten rid of that. There's a big difference between being injured and just being tired or fatigued. Obviously, let's rule out the fact you're not injured, but you're just tired and you don't want to get out of bed. Your body feels just beat down. How do you get up and still complete the workout? In my experience, the hardest part is just getting out the door on those days. And sometimes you might just have to reduce your expectations a little bit. And I like to call it the 10-minute rule. I'll just say, okay, I've got an 8-mile run program for today. I don't feel like doing it. Let's just go do 10 minutes. That gets me out the door. And 99.9% of the time, after I hit that 10-minute mark, where I told myself I could be done, I'll just keep going anyways, because I realized I was probably more just mentally tired, or my body might be a little bit more fatigued than normal, but it can still push through. And that's very typical, like in the peak of training, say for a marathon. You're gonna have a lot of days where you're tired. Maybe your resting heart rate's a little bit higher. But more often than not, you can get out, still put the miles in. And if anything, just slow down a little bit. You don't have to hit your normal paces. You don't have to have your heart rate up where it always is. Maybe just check the box for the day, move on, and come back again tomorrow. But more often than not, our bodies can handle it. And a lot of it's just all up here.